All right, good evening. Looks like we got 5 people in here. I think that was probably bad. Put my hand across the screen and just adjusted it a little bit here. There we go. 7 people in here already. So good evening, everybody. Welcome back, and welcome me back anyway, one way or the other. Good to, I guess, kind of see you guys. Glad to be here. And give me a second here. Let me get all set up on things so we can get going. I got to look off to the side to see what I'm doing. There we go. I think we're good to go. Okay. All right, so let me just get the disclaimers I normally do out of the way here. This is a weekly live broadcast, generally every week, every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central Time. And what I do is I just answer your questions. So it is pretty much an Ask Me Anything session. How's the, let's see how the video is playing here tonight. I don't think it looks too terrible. I got to do something besides this iPhone. It's not great video, but anyway, we're doing okay, I guess. You guys aren't here to see me, you're here to talk or interact, so that hopefully that's good. Where was I going with that? I lost track a little bit. I don't know, a little bit disheveled tonight, I guess. It's been a busy week. Where was I at with that? Okay, this is an Ask Me Anything question or session. I don't have a topic planned out. I just do my best to respond to you guys in the chat itself. If you're coming back after the video is aired, and it's no longer live, you can leave a comment. I'll do my best to get to that. I'm a little bit behind on comments right now, answering comments. I'm trying to get caught up. So forgive me if you've asked a question in the comments section on a video recently. I haven't responded to it. I'm really trying to. It's just, it's difficult right now. Things have been really, really busy. It's hard for me to find time to be able to sit down and do that. Same thing with Facebook messages and stuff like that. I haven't been good at responding to those lately. And again, apologize for that, guys. It's just been crazy, crazy busy. So the only thing I ask is, again, be polite, be family friendly. Don't spam us with comments. If you're asking a question, ask a question, leave a comment. Don't leave the same comment over and over and over again. We'll end up having to kick you guys out of here if you do that, or if you're hateful, or if you're cussing at people, or inappropriate language, that kind of stuff. So anyway, let's get into this. So we got let's see, Rainer, I think it is Rainer Funk. Says, my rabbit did not have babies, so I rebred her, and this time I got 3 fall-offs, but my male and female both had wet spots around their privates, and I'm just wondering what is going on. That's not uncommon. I don't think that doesn't really mean anything, so you shouldn't have to worry. I would count her as bred. And then, let's see, it goes on to say, and if that does work, I bought a doe that is going to have babies in 20-ish days, but again, about the other doe and my buck only 6 months old. Could that be another problem too? Yeah, 6 months old is right about the time that you can start breeding them, that they should be able to breed. So yeah, it may be that you bred them a little too early the previous time. Just count her as pregnant right now. Good luck with it. I hope it works, but don't worry. The wet spots and stuff, that's pretty common. It's nothing to worry about. It doesn't mean that she didn't take or anything like that. If you got 3 fall-offs, I mean, she was receptive. That means the buck was doing his job, so you're probably going to have baby rabbits shortly. So congratulations, and hopefully it works out well. All right. Hey, Mark Meyer from the Nut House, he says, Rainer says, sorry for all the questions, but on every Thursday morning, I think of questions to ask you because I'm looking forward to the live stream. Well, thanks for joining the live stream. That's exactly what this is for. You don't have to apologize for the questions at all. So hello to you, Boris. Robert Spencer says, good evening, everyone. Just picked up 35 of my 50 chicks from my neighbor, and we're so excited to starting our quail adventure. Thanks for the awesome community I learn and grow with. Well, hey, thanks for all the kind comments. Appreciate that. And thanks for joining the community, because it wouldn't be a community without all you guys here. I appreciate it. All right, and congratulations on your new birds, too, by the way. And Danny Abdulaziz, I think it is. I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong. I'm sorry for that. Says, hey, Chris, good seeing you, brother. Good seeing you, too. Thanks. And, hey, Hatch Poultry Farms is here. Howdy, Hatch. Good to see you. And let's see. We got Doug Dixon from New Mexico. Lauren, hello to you. Danny says, what's the difference between Jumbo Brown and Jumbo Wild and Jumbo Pharaohs? And what would I get if you crossbreed them? Okay, I think you asked this question in a comment, and I responded to that this morning, but let's talk about it right here. Okay, the wild just really refers to the color. Wild color is the common brown color of the quail. So that doesn't really mean anything. You've got Jumbo Brown, Jumbo Wild, and Jumbo Pharaohs. They're all, I mean, it can really be the same thing. You can have Jumbo Browns, let me see if I can back up. You can have Jumbo Pharaohs and Jumbo Meat Makers are 2 of the Jumbo wild color birds, quail. I have both, Jumbo Pharaohs and Jumbo Meat Makers, and honestly, I can't tell much of a difference. The Jumbo Pharaohs are supposed to lay slightly larger eggs. The jumbo meat makers are supposed to get slightly bigger, grow slightly faster. I can't hardly tell a difference between them at all. And if you were to cross them, you're going to get birds that are pretty much the same thing. It's not going to be much of a difference. As far as the jumbo brown go, honestly, there's not a big difference between them and the pharaohs or the meat makers. They're all just different kind of genetic breeds of them, but they're all Coturnix quail. They'll all crossbreed. They'll all interbreed. They'll all be about the same. Pharaohs and meat makers, I believe, are names that were coined by certain. Oh, look at that! I got a $5 super chat from Rainier. Says, "Keep it up." Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So anyway, I'm not a genetics expert, so I don't know really, honestly, if there is a difference between jumbo brown and jumbo pharaoh or jumbo meat maker. It's just probably what some people call them. You come up with different breeds of quail, so to speak, when you isolate genes in them, and then they will reproduce true to that gene, if that makes sense. So like white birds, the Texas A&M white birds. Not all white birds are Texas A&M, but that's what they're commonly called. That is a specific breed of bird, but you can crossbreed those with any other bird, and you're going to get birds that, some of them may look white, some of them may not be. With the jumbo wilds, the jumbo browns, the jumbo pharaohs, the jumbo meat makers, you're probably not going to tell a difference if you crossbreed them between them and the parents. They're going to look just like them. They're all pretty much the same. I can put my pharaohs and my meat makers together. You can't tell them apart. They look exactly the same. There's very little, if any, difference between them. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. King Coupade says, "Hi, we have a month-old quail and 3-month-old quail. How much do you or I have to wait before we put them together?" You should be okay to put them together now. I quite commonly move, my 3-4-week-old birds in with my adult birds and do just fine. Don't really have any problems that way. In fact, I like to do that if I'm going to be putting them together eventually. It's best to do that before the birds hit sexual maturity, the young birds that you're moving in. They don't seem like they're a threat at that point. So before they get like 6-8 weeks old, they don't seem to be like a threat to that point to the other birds, so the birds don't attack them. Like often when you take full-grown adults and you put them together, you'll get fighting. They'll establish a pecking order or whatever. They don't seem to do that with the young birds. And the young birds, you put them in at 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old, and they just seem to get along just fine, and then they grow up in there and they never have that fighting problem. So yeah, you should be able to do that right now. It should be fine. All right. Whoa, I scrolled down. Missed something there. Okay, hey, there's J.R. Bailey, Junior Bailey. I'm not sure if it's J.R. or Junior. But either way, good to see you. Thanks for joining us from the oil patch in central Wyoming. And Lauren says hi to Hatch. All right. William says, just read the quail contact. Oh, I just read that quail can contact COVID-19. Yikes. Well, yeah, they can. I mean, I guess they can. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that either. But I did hear about, there was a dog that came down and tested positive for it. But again, it's unlikely that your birds are going to catch that unless they're in contact with somebody that has that disease already. I mean, it doesn't just, roam through the air and then all of a sudden decide to land on the quail. It's like, unless your quail are out going to the bars and things like that, you're probably not going to be in contact with anybody that has that. So you're not going to have to worry about it too much. I wouldn't freak out. Hey, Robert Spencer says, my wife just picked up a new 4K camera on Amazon for less than $150. It has webcam capabilities and came with a nice external microphone. If you're interested, I'll send you the link to the one we got. Interesting. Well, yeah, you can send the link to it. I might check that out. I actually have a pretty nice, digital camera. A Canon 90D is what I have right now, and that's what I've been filming videos on lately. There is some software that's supposed to make that work like a webcam. I just haven't had a chance to really sit down and play with that. And as far as a microphone goes, I've got a microphone already. Well, I have headphones with a microphone, but I can get a microphone and plug that in. So I'm going to try to play with that and work that out to where we can start using that camera. I think it'll produce much better quality video than the cell phone. All right, 123 Gamerman says, I had some discussion over the Coturnix Corners Facebook page. Someone said pine chamois are toxic to quail. I've used them forever without issues, but wonder if you have any thoughts. Pine is one of those things where I don't think pine is, look at that, there's another $5 super chat. This is from Rabbit Homesteading, says, wow, I caught you. Sorry, been missing you live. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. And you don't have to apologize, it's okay. I do the live broadcast so we can interact with each other, but if you can't make it, we don't keep track of that. I don't take attendance. It's okay. But again, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. All right, pine shavings being toxic to quail. I think that's probably cedar shavings is what they're talking about. I've heard some discussion about pine not being good for certain animals, but I think they're getting it mixed up. I don't think pine itself is not toxic. I've used pine shavings before, never had a problem with it on any of the animals I've ever used it with. Cedar, though, cedar is bad. You don't want to use cedar around your birds. That's probably what they're talking about. All right, peanuts, peppers. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well from South Louisiana. Awesome. Thanks for joining. J.R. Bailey, I've got 110 quail or jumbo eggs showing in about 14 days. Do I let them acclimate for 24 hours or 48 after arriving? 24 hours is fine. I usually let mine set overnight. I don't even go a full 24 hours sometimes, but about 24 hours is fine. And it's, you're basically letting them just settle. Is what you're doing. So 24 hours is going to be fine. All right, Eugene says, hey there, Chris. Hope you and yours are doing well. Doing pretty good, thank you. I had to go back to work this week. Well, I shouldn't say back to work. I had to go back to work at the office this week, and strangely, work actually kind of slowed down a little bit when that happened. So who knows? I don't know why. Doesn't seem to be any correlation between it, but I was working from home for the last several weeks, and good grief, it was busy nonstop all day. But went back to work, and now it's back to just kind of normal work. So hopefully, won't have to put off any more live broadcasts for a while. All right, Doug says, how old do Rex rabbits need to be to breed? Born December 23rd, buck January 22nd. Generally 6 months is what you're talking about with pretty much any rabbit. So 6 months old is a good age to go ahead and start breeding them. I wouldn't breed them before that. All right, Noah's Raiders says, I have 5 quail, 2 hens, 3 males. The males have blood on their neck, so I dropped down to 2 females and 1 male, and now the females are fighting. Is this normal? It's not abnormal. That's one of the things I really like about the jumbo farrow and the jumbo meat makers is they're not nearly as aggressive as some of the other kinds of birds that I've kept, like the Texas A&Ms or even the tuxedos or Italians. They seem to be a lot more aggressive. But if you had 5 quail, you had 2 hens and 3 males. It's definitely too much roosters. And you said the males had blood on their necks. It was probably one of the hens that was doing that to them. It's not uncommon whenever you get, sometimes you'll have just one bird that's way more aggressive than the rest of them. And they fight with them to establish a pecking order. Usually they'll work that out, but not always. And a lot of times that real aggressive bird tends to be a hen for whatever reason. So, it sounds like that's probably that one hen that was doing that to your males as well. But you are smart to drop down to 2 females and 1 male. Or even, if you could go to 3 or 4 females and 1 male, that would be good too. Because it sounds like you may have one hen that's a little bit aggressive. Usually, like I said, they'll work that out. And it'll go away. It won't be a big ongoing issue. But every once in a while, you get a bird that just seems to be a little psycho, and there's not really a great solution for that. You can try. Hey, look, there's another $5 super chat. This is from MD88. Says I have an 80D camera, 90D. Whoops. Let me just scroll down and answer that. I always feel like I gotta address the super chat comments first. Have an 80D great camera. 90D should be even better for video. Do you have any photography? I really enjoy shooting wildlife. Do I do any photography? I do a little bit of photography. I kind of like photography. I've done it kind of as a hobby off and on for years. And I do shoot some pictures. I share them every once in a while on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not big on social media, as you guys can probably figure out. I'm not very good at keeping up with it. So I don't have a whole lot posted, but you guys can follow me on Instagram if you want to. It's at CD Carnes on Instagram. There's not a whole lot on there right now, so don't get too overly excited about it, but you can go check it out if you want to. And I do shoot some photos. 90D is a great camera. 80D was a great camera as well. I was shooting on a Rebel TX whatever until I got the 90D, which, by the way, I will say I used YouTube earnings to buy. Finally had enough together to buy a new camera. So thank you guys for all you guys that watch, and got a little bit of earnings in over time, saved it up, and was able to buy a new camera with that. So very excited about it. The 90D is a great camera. It shoots in 4K. It only shoots 24 frames per second in 4K, but it does shoot in 4K, or you can go 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second in 1080p. So it's great. You guys may have noticed my video quality probably improved just a little bit. All right, excuse me. Where we at here? Back to Noah. All right, so yeah, again, just give us some time. Hopefully that female will calm down. There may not be a whole lot of options you have there. You may have to end up going to having to call that bird out eventually. But again, give her a little bit of time. Hopefully she will calm down and get over it. I have heard some people talk about spraying them down with vinegar, not straight vinegar, like mix it with water and spray them down with that. And that's supposed to help stop fighting. I don't know why that would work. The theory is I think that the smell or something like that. But birds, as far as I know, don't really have much of a sense of smell. So I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me why that would work. But people have reported success with it. So that may be something you might want to try. And if nothing else, maybe when they start fighting, then you spray them with vinegar. So, like a cat, like you teach a cat not to do something, that may work like that. I don't know. It's something to try, though. Other than that, like I said, most of the time they just kind of work it out and eventually they get over it. But you do need to watch because occasionally they will kill another bird and they'll just be super aggressive and they never do calm down. All right, Kurt Stewart says, how are things going? I'm getting around 10 to 12 quail eggs a day now. Awesome. Things are going well here, thank you. I'm getting more eggs than I can eat, of course. Got eggs in the incubator right now. We're going to go into lockdown on Friday night, I think. Yeah, Friday night I'm going to put them in lockdown. Hoping for a decent hatch out of those. And then as soon as I put those in lockdown, I'll probably start collecting eggs for another hatch and then do another hatch right behind that. I've got some people that want to buy some quail, some locally that want to buy some quail. So I need to get some quail production going so I have enough for myself as well. All right, Lauren says we have 10 does due and we're afraid we're going to have like 100 kits. So yeah, that's a lot. 10 kits, yeah, you're probably going to have a lot of rabbits. So good luck to you on that. That's a lot to keep up with, Lauren. All right, Joe says, question, how many weeks old do you wait to put chicks in with adult quail? Well, I kind of talked about that a few minutes ago, but just in case this comment came after I talked about that, you didn't hear that. Yeah, I typically, look, there's another $5 super chat from Danny Abdulaziz. I know I'm pronouncing your name wrong, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just a redneck from Southwest Missouri. Forgive me for that, but thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, so moving quail in, babies in with adults. I typically do that when they're 3 to 4 weeks old, somewhere right around in there. Try to get them in before they're much older than that, because much older than that, then they start getting more sexually mature, and then the adults do tend to kind of pick on them. But I usually find it about 3 weeks old, when they're big enough not to get really trampled easily, but not so big that they look like competition for the other birds. They tend to mix in really, really well. I very seldom, if ever, lose a baby bird at all when I'm moving them in at that age. And then they tend to just grow up and never have any fighting problems whatsoever. That works well for me. All right. John says, quail, what about high ambient weather? What does that mean? Quail, what about high ambient weather? You stumped me with that one. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Ambient weather. I don't know exactly what ambient weather means. I'm sorry. I know the word ambient, but I'm having a hard time connecting it. Are you talking about, I don't know. You're going to have to ask the question another way. I'm sorry, man. You got me stumped on that one. I don't know what you're asking exactly. Robin's Nest says, hello. How long will it take babies to get fully feathered? Thank you. Love the channel. Robin in Florida. Well, thank you for loving the channel. I appreciate that. Generally, you're going to have them feather out in about 2 weeks. They're usually fully feathered out by about 2 to 2.5 weeks, somewhere right around in there. Sometimes a little bit sooner than that, honestly. They feather out pretty quick. So hopefully that answers that one for you. Pretty quick, easy answer. All right, Linda says, how long does it take for turkey eggs to hatch? I don't know. I don't raise turkey. I'm sorry. I get these questions all the time. People are asking me, like, how long does it take for a pheasant egg to hatch? Or how long does it take for this to hatch? Or that to hatch? Turkeys, let's see. I've never hatched turkeys out, but I want to say they're like 25 days. Somebody probably knows, and they will tell you. So we'll watch in the comments as we go. They probably know for sure. I'm not. I'm sorry. All right, William says, I'm still waiting for mine to hatch. Your birds to hatch? Well, good luck. Hopefully they do hatch. Oh, Hatch Poultry says to Mark, did I miss a comment? I'm not sure what the comment was. Oh, there it is. Hatch Poultry is in the house. Do you have any Bob White eggs? He says, we still have them, just very sold out. Yeah, very busy time of year right now. That's what he's saying. Very busy time right now. We are trying our best to get everyone's orders out. Yeah. Now is the time. Don't be offended. Don't be upset with your hatchery. If it's Hatch Poultry, if it's somebody else, you're ordering eggs from them, or you're trying to, and everything's sold out. You're not getting, what you're wanting, whatever. This is the time when everybody's ordering. So this is the busy time of year, and just be patient with them. They'll get to you as quick as they can, I'm sure. All right, John says, also, why do quail while hatching make their first peck in the shell and then nothing the rest of the time and die? Okay, there could be many reasons for that. Let me grab a drink here. Could be many reasons for that. It could be, oh my gosh, there's so many reasons. Most likely it's going to be a temperature issue of some kind or a humidity issue of some kind. Temperature, if your temperature is a little bit low, it causes the chicks to develop a little bit slower. They may never develop the muscle strength necessary. It takes a lot of energy to break out of that shell, and they may be developing slower, and therefore they don't have the energy, the muscle energy to break out of that shell completely. That could be, again, your temperature running just a little bit low, especially if they're starting to pip the shell a little bit late, like instead of day 17 or 16 or 17, they're doing it on day 19 or 20. The other thing could be, genetics. They just, for whatever reason, were not strong enough genetically. It could be a humidity issue. A lot of times, a bird that pips the shell, if it's too dry, or especially if there's a sudden drop in the humidity, like you open the incubator during that time and that fresh air rushes in, it can basically shrink wrap that membrane around that bird, and basically you can't get out. So there's a couple of things to think about there. Another thing is, if you're giving your bird, if it's a common issue and it happens a lot, and you're giving your birds extra calcium, they could be getting too much calcium, and their eggshells could be just a little too thick, and therefore making it difficult for the birds to completely break out of that. So there's a whole lot of different things there. Start with the simplest thing, which is going to be temperature. Just grab a couple of thermometers. Not digital. Make sure they're not digital. Calibrate them first. Make sure they're accurate first. And I always say get two. Throw them in your incubator. Turn it on. You don't have to have eggs in there or anything. Just turn it on. Get it up to temperature where it's level. And then compare what the thermometers inside your incubator say with the thermometer reading on the thermostat reading on your incubator. If any two of those are matched up, then that's probably the accurate temperature. So now if you have both those thermometers in your incubator and they are reading the same temperature, and your incubator says it's, a degree warmer or a degree cooler or whatever, that means your incubator temperature is probably off a little bit, and you'll want to make that adjustment to it. Hopefully that makes sense. That would be the simplest thing to check, and usually can make a good guess on that. So somebody's asking me how to calibrate a analog temp gauge. I did a video on that, I think, once, but you're probably better off looking up a video and watching it. It's kind of hard for me to explain. It's not really that difficult. You basically you have to figure out where you're at, your sea level is, so what your boiling point is, because everybody's boiling point's just a little bit different based on how high you are above sea level. Then you take basically a glass of water or a glass of ice, pour water in it so it's pretty much ice, as much ice as you can get in a glass, and fill it with water. Stick your thermometer in there and take the reading where it's reading. If it should be reading at 32 degrees. And if it's reading a little bit above that, just write that down. And then you take boiling water, you take the reading on there to what it's reading at for the boiling water, whatever your temperature is, your water boils at your area. You can just do a Google search and find that out. Then you take that reading and then you subtract basically the difference between, like if it was 3 degrees warm on the cool side, or 3 degrees warm on the freezing end, and then 3 degrees cool on the warm end, then you've got a total of, what is that? That would be like, well, that would be not calibrated. Anyway, you're going to have to look it up probably and watch it. You basically do that, and then you do the math and figure out how many degrees you have to adjust it down. It's one of those things I always get confused on. I have to sit and think about for a little while. But just do a Google search, how to calibrate a thermometer. You'll come up with a video or something on there. Don't worry if it's mine or not, whoever's, and you can watch it, and they'll probably do a better job of explaining it than I did, because, like I said, I always get kind of confused trying to do it. I have to have pencil and paper, and you guys who watch my videos much, I'm not really good at on-the-fly math. So you get the idea. But yeah, it's not that complex. It's just a little bit hard for me to explain. Hopefully that makes sense. So all kinds of commotion going on. My wife's home from work, and the dog is excited. All right. Where are we at here? J.R. Bailey says, to Hatch Poultry, thanks for taking my order for the 110 jumbo eggs. Looking forward to getting them. Incubator is on its way. And do I acclimate them for 24 to 48 hours? Yeah, I think I answered this one for you, actually. But if not, yeah, give them 24 hours. That's plenty. Just let them sit next to the incubator for 24 hours and then put them in the incubator, and they should be good to go. All right, Tyler says, hey, Chris, what do you do or have done with your birds when you go on vacation or away from home for a few days and you can't collect eggs from the pens. I have my neighbor come over and take care of them and collect the eggs for me every day. It's good to have good neighbors, have a good relationship with your neighbors anyway. So yeah, my neighbor has, a couple of goats and some chickens back there. So whenever she goes out of town, I go take care of her stuff for her. Whenever we go out of town, she comes over and takes care of our stuff for us. So again, good to have good relationships with your neighbors. Get to know them, be friendly with them. Both neighbors on both sides of my house are really good people, so I'm very lucky about that. They're all very friendly. Even, I know the neighbors a couple of houses down, they're very friendly. The ones across the road. Hey, look, there's a $2 super chat from Rabbit Homesteading. He says, learned a lot on the pipping question. Nice info. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. And thank you for the $2 super chat. So, yeah, anyway, know your neighbors. It's good to know them. It's good to have a relationship with them. Even if you don't really like them necessarily, be friendly with them, be nice with them, have a little bit of a relationship. It goes a long ways with, they'll keep an eye on your property for you, those kinds of things. So, all right. Salvador says, hello from Puerto Rico. Awesome. I've always wanted to visit Puerto Rico. Someday maybe I'll go there. Lots of places I want to visit. I haven't been yet. All right. Then we got Linda asking again how long it takes for turkey eggs to hatch. Sorry, don't know the answer to that one right offhand. Bryce says, placed an order for eggs almost a month ago from Hatch Poultry and still haven't received them. Can anyone recommend another source for quail eggs? Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Bryce. Hatch Poultry is here. So Hatch may be able to answer that question a little bit better. As far as another hatchery, Kansas City Quail Farms is a great hatchery to go with as well. I'm sure that Hatch is going to take care of you, though, so just give them a chance, and I'm sure that they will jump in here and get that answered for you. In fact, there's probably a question down here somewhere. Anyway, we'll get to that here in just a minute. All right, where are we at here? William says, can I switch? I ordered April 13th. I don't know what that means, William. I think that's talking to Hatch probably. Okay, so we're moving on. Sean says, hey, Chris, what's the better choice? Thinking of getting XL Jumbo Meat Makers or HPF Pharaohs from Hatch Poultry? They're the same. There's really not much of a difference. You can't go wrong with either one of them. I kind of tend to lean towards the Jumbo Pharaohs, but really no reason for that. I really, like I said, I can't hardly tell the difference. You're not going to go wrong with either one of them. All right, Lauren says, COVID can't go through animals, nor can they get it. Well, Lauren, I'm not sure if that's true or not. There was a newscast about a dog. It was a pug, actually, that tested positive for COVID. His family had it, like it was like a husband, wife, and some kids. And they both, I think the husband and wife had both tested positive for COVID and had it. And then later their dog tested positive for COVID. So, maybe, I don't know what species can and can't get it. I don't know that much about it, but there was at least one dog that got it. All right. Resham says, hello from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Hello to you. And Noah says, I also bought eggs on eBay. I've been getting a lot of problems in this batch, Rednecked, and just unhealthy. Should I keep the healthy ones or not? I plan on hatching. Yeah, you're probably okay with keeping the healthy ones. If you're buying eggs and you got a lot of problems with your hatch, and you're sure it's not like low incubator temperature, or that's probably the biggest thing that usually happens is your incubator temperature being a little bit low. Rednecked can be genetic or it can be a vitamin deficiency, but a lot of times when it happens in birds that are newly hatched, it goes back to a temperature issue in your incubator. Either it's not, it's incubating a little bit low, or it's not incubating evenly. So maybe they were sitting at the edges and it was a little bit cooler on the edges, so they didn't develop as well or as fast or whatever as the other birds in the incubator, and that's where they come out with wry neck or splayed legs or those kinds of things too. So that could be the issue. I wouldn't go right to saying it's the person that you bought the eggs from. Go back to my suggestion before is check your incubator, make sure it's reading correctly. But, then again, it could be some genetic problems too when you're buying off of eBay. Always check the reviews. If he's getting really good reviews, it's probably not, his fault. But, you never know what you're getting when you're buying off of eBay. And you never know, what kind of seller that is. So, but yeah, if you got some birds that are healthy, you go ahead and keep them. There's no reason not to. All right. Hatch Poultry says to Bryce, there we go. It's peak season. Sorry for the wait. We'll try to get them out this week. We have been shipping overtime lately. Limited staff, and this time of year is very busy. Yeah, I can imagine this time of year being very busy, plus with what all's going on, limited staff. I imagine it is very difficult to get that going right now. All right, William Safford says to Noah, this is a good suggestion. Give the layers pokey, what is that? Pokey 6, is that right? 6 solution? Pokey, no, it's poly. There we go. Poly 6 solution. Yeah, that's a like a vitamin supplement that you can give them. Yeah, the vitamins that would affect like Rednecked, or what is it? Is it thiamine? I think it's thiamine and vitamin E, I want to say. I may be getting that wrong, but I believe that those are the two. So you'd look for a vitamin supplement that has those in it. You can try, giving your birds some of that. That may help too. All right, John says, what's your process for cleaning a quail hutch? Power wash, soap, and scrub. Honestly, I don't clean my quail hutches very often. I mean, if things start to build up in there, then I just kind of wipe them down with some soap and water, basically, rinse it off. But very seldom is that ever an issue. It's usually pretty easy. They're kind of self-cleaning because wire floor, everything drops through. The sandboxes I just sift out every once in a while, and I call it good. And that seems to work pretty well for me. All right, JR says to Hatch Poultry Farms, says, thanks. Will you folks notify me when you ship, which is supposed to be next week? And he says, yep, they will. All right, Kathy says, was that another? Look at that. Lars is back with a 200 Danish crown super chat. Thank you so much, Lars. Lars always comes in here, throws that money at me, never asks a question, never wants anything for it, just throws 200 Danish crowns, I think is what they are. I get that mixed up. I'm bad with that. So thank you, Lars. I appreciate that. You're a very generous person. All right, where we at here? William says, Hatch Poultry, do you have anything in stock I can switch to? All right, so there's some, I'm going to try to skip some of those comments because they're back and forth with Hatch, which is fine. It's just we don't need to take up time answering the other questions here. So Kevin Sinclair says, my first litter of meat rabbits babies is almost 3 weeks old. Thanks for all the great info. You're absolutely welcome. Congratulations on that. Mark says, what would cause quail to have ruffled feathers? Okay, so ruffled feathers, I'm not sure I can answer that one for you. There are some genetic traits that could cause them to have ruffled feathers. Just as a genetic trait, that's the way their feathers are, kind of frilly and kind of ruffled. They do tend to kind of puff their feathers out from time to time too. A lot of times if they're a little bit chilly, they'll do that. There could be a number of different things causing it that way. I don't know that I can answer that one for you exactly. Sorry, can't give you a better answer, but those would be the first things I'm thinking of. Either the bird's a little bit chilly or, like I said, genetic traits that just make them have ruffled feathers. That's just some birds do. Michael says, I'm picking up 11 quail hens and 3 roosters tomorrow to go with the 4 hens I already have. Thank you for helping us be more self-sufficient. Awesome, Michael. Good luck with those. Hope they go well. Let's see, 11 to go with the 4 you already have. Yeah, watch them for, like I said, some fighting. When you combine them together, you may have birds picking on each other a little bit, establishing a pecking order. Hopefully they move together very nicely. With the fact that you've got more coming in than you already have, and you're moving in. Oh, look at that, $5 super chat. Got to answer that question. Let's see what it is. What's a good breeding cycle for 1 buck and 2 does? And what is the Instagram? CD Cards. No, CD Carnes. My last name, Carnes, C-A-R-N-E-S. Okay, so the breeding cycle for 1 buck and 2 does. So I'm not sure if I understand the question exactly. If you're saying by breeding cycle, you mean how often should you be breeding your does? It kind of depends on what you want to produce. Now, if you want your does to be pregnant at the same time, there's some wisdom in that if you have one doe that for whatever reason is not doing a good job of taking care of her kits, then you might be able to foster those with your other doe. So you could breed them at the same time, or you could stagger them. And me personally, I would stagger them just because I want more consistency instead of everything at once and then nothing and then everything at once. So I would breed one doe and I would wait till her baby's got about a week old, 2 weeks old, and then I would breed the other doe. So what that means is by 30 days out when that doe has her babies, these guys are about 6 weeks old and they're good to go ahead and move off the mom. And you can put them in a grow out pen for another couple of weeks before you process them. And then whenever the other mother has her babies and they're 2 weeks old, you rebreed this doe that's given her 2 weeks without kits to kind of calm down and then get rebred. And you can just kind of keep that cycle going. Hopefully that makes sense and answers that question for you. So let's see, let me scroll down and make sure there wasn't another, I think we got it. Rainer. Hopefully I got that for you. Okay. Boy, I got a lot of comments to get through here. Let's see how much I can do. Where was I at? There we go. All right. Jay Boy, did I miss something here? I think we got it. Thank you for helping us be more self-sufficient. I think I got your question, Michael. Hopefully I did. Jay Boy says, hey, Chris, I was excited to start raising a trio of rabbits, and it appears my city won't allow it. Any ideas to help? Well, I don't know that I can answer. I mean, you might go take a look at like your city ordinances and see what they really say. If you look them up. Also, are they really enforcing that? My city ordinances actually say like, and they're old. They were written like long ago. Nobody really knows what they. I mean, nobody watches that. Nobody comes around and enforces that. It says that I have to have, what is it, 30 square feet per rabbit of cage space. That's crazy, ridiculous. But again, nobody's enforcing that, so it's not that big of a deal. Those are two things to think about there. Is it just old ordinances that nobody's addressed? I'm sure, go down and look. I'm sure that there's pet stores in your area that sell rabbits. How do they sell rabbits to people if you can't have rabbits in the city? That's just the way it goes. So I would, check on that, and then, don't go big and obnoxious with it. Don't get like, I think you said you were excited to raise a trio of rabbits. That's probably about right. If you were to put in a rabbit barn with a couple hundred rabbits in the backyard, that might draw attention and might definitely get them to come and enforce that ordinance. But, just 3 rabbits back there. In fact, nobody's probably going to even know you have them. So, there's that thought too. All right. Alan says, worried about COVID-19, my quail refuse to social distance and masks keep falling off of them because they don't have ears. Yeah, that's a good point, Alan. Thanks for the laugh. I appreciate that. How are we doing on time here? We got about 20 minutes here. All right, good evening to you, Daryl. And Junior says, cedar has naturally occurring toxic fumes and oil. Yep, that's a reference to when we were talking about pine shavings and cedar shavings being toxic to quail. All right. Noah says, I sell to a company who makes those shavings. Make sure it's new, not recycled. Could have small metal particles in it. Interesting. I guess you could run a magnet over it or something and pull those out. Probably. Anyway, I never thought about that. Lauren says, hey, from North Carolina. Hello to you. And Verna says, oh my, I finally made it. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. And doing well, Marine Life. Thanks. Hopefully you are too. And then we got Shelby from Brooks, Oregon. Coon Catcher wants more quail videos. I will do some more quail videos. I've just, like I said, about addressed every topic on quail there is. I'll address some, some of those topics again probably. If I can come up with something new to address, I'll do that as well. I will get to them as quick as I can. So hopefully, I just can't do nonstop quail videos all the time because I run out of topics. All right, William says, so I let my daughter help load an incubator. All of the eggs were put in upside down, and some point the turner was unplugged. Looks like I will find out how resilient the eggs are. Oh no. Well, William, I wouldn't worry about it too much as long as you as long as you got to them. They're probably going to be okay. It may affect your hatch rate a little bit, but as long as you've got them turned up the right way now, you've got them laid down in lockdown, giving them a little bit of time there to kind of settle down, hopefully they'll be just fine. All right, and then where are we at here? Points up. You always want the points up. You always want the bigger end up, the pointy end down. Whenever you're storing your eggs or you're putting them in the egg turner or whatever. That way the air sac can raise to the part that is bigger. That gives the room for the chick to turn that way. As they're developing, their head develop where they're, towards the air sac, be able to break out of the shell. So, all right, Coon Catcher says, when can I butcher my quail? Well, whenever they get up to the size you want them to get. I mean, whether that is, usually about 8 weeks old is whenever I process most of mine. Not all the time, though. And the biggest reason for that is that's when they reach kind of the peak in growth. They're pretty much full grown at 8 weeks old. They will continue to grow after that, but they grow much slower after that. And it takes a lot more feed to get just a little bit more growth on them. Whereas up to 8 weeks, it doesn't take nearly as much feed, and they put on exponential weight. I mean, they just grow so incredibly fast up to 8 weeks, and then they really slow down. So about 8 weeks old is usually when I butcher, but sometimes a hatch grows out a little bit slower than that. It takes them more to like 12 weeks to really get up to full size. It's just whenever you think that they're big enough to go ahead and process. They're not like a lot of other animals where you don't have to worry about butchering older animals, older quail. They're fine. They don't get real tough or anything like that. Some of the other animals, as they get older, they get tough. you don't have to worry about that with quail, so you can wait a lot longer and butcher them if you want to do it that way too. All right. Linda says, do you have to get a permit for bob white quail? Yes, you do have to get a permit for bob white quail. I've had some people say that that is not a nationwide thing. I thought it was. I thought because they're a native bird to the United States, that they would be protected under federal law. But I may be wrong on that. I just know in Missouri, in most states, it is required to have a permit. It's not a terribly difficult thing to get. You pay usually like $10 a year, $15 a year or something like that. And you pay it to your conservation department. They'll come out and inspect your stuff, and then you're good to go. Anyway, you'll just have to check when your area and see what the regulations are on that. All right, Danny says, thanks, brother. You're absolutely welcome. And Kathy says, I'm happy to say I just started my own channel about my rabbits and colony rabbits. Congratulations. And awesome. It's called New Mexico Dust Bunnies. Nothing fancy. Just me and the bun buns. Nothing wrong with that. Congratulations on your new channel. Hopefully it goes well. All right, Daryl says, just to know, I hit the like button. Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Where are we going here? Cheryl's in-house says, hello to all. Hello to you too. Cooncatcher says, when can I check my rabbits for being pregnant? Boy, that's really tricky, Cooncatcher. You can usually start palpating when they're about 12 to 15 days along, somewhere right around in there. It makes it a little bit simpler. But even then, if you're not real experienced with palpating, that's about the only way you can really check a doe for being pregnant. It's a really tricky thing to do, and it's not easy. So don't be discouraged if you don't feel anything, you don't think she's pregnant. Just count her as pregnant, even if you don't feel anything there. But don't try to do it before about 12 days old, or 12 days after she was bred. That's about the time that you would want to try that. What else was I going to say about that? The other thing you can do, and of course this doesn't help much, but you wait till she's about 25 days, 26 days, and then every day take a handful of straw, go out and throw it in her cage. And if she picks it up and starts running around with straw hanging out both sides of her mouth, it'll be pretty obvious what she's doing there. That means she's ready to build a nest. For surefire, almost surefire that she's pregnant at that point. A lot of my, where was I going with that? A lot of my does, they don't do that though until like the day before they're going to have their babies. So it doesn't help you out a whole lot with that. But anyway, hopefully that works. I do have a video on how to tell if your rabbit's pregnant or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I called it, but that's basically the advice I give in there. I do kind of try to how to palpate a doe, but again, it's really, really hard to do. So don't, if you go feeling and you don't feel anything at all, don't count her as not pregnant. It's not a surefire thing. All right. Verna says 82 watching, only 19 thumbs up. Come on, people, help Chris hit the thumbs up button. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Danny says, another question, brother. When it comes to feeding, I changed my feed to 28 organic, but it was so expensive. I went back to non-medicated. Do you think the eggs are just as good to eat? Yeah, the eggs are going to be fine to eat. 28% organic feed is going to be extremely expensive. And I'm kind of surprised it's 28% organic medicated feed. I don't really feed my birds medicated feed. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to feed them medicated feed. What is in the medicated feed is not like an antibiotic or any of that kind of stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. What government body or whatever it is that regulates that stuff says there's no ill effects to people. It's basically a thiamine blocker, I think, or maybe, yeah, something like that. And it's for preventing coccidiosis is what it is. Anyway, you can look it up. I can't remember the name of it. Anna something, whatever it is in medicated. You can look it up and you can read all about it. It's not really a concern if you're feeding that to your birds that, you can't eat the eggs or anything like that. And it's fine if you go to a lower protein feed, that the eggs are still going to be just fine to eat. I like to feed a little higher protein feed to my birds. I just find that they do a little bit better on that. They lay a little bit more consistently, but it's going to be fine if you can't get that higher protein feed. All right, James says, hi, Chris. I'm in lockdown today with a still air incubator. Do I really need air? You don't absolutely have to have air in your incubator, like a forced air incubator. What that does is that helps regulate the temperature inside the incubator, so makes it a little bit more even. So you don't have like hot spots in certain areas and cool spots in other areas. Don't worry about it. Deal with what you got. You're probably going to do just fine with it. All right. J.R. Bailey says, to hatch poultry. Sorry, I'm going to skip those comments because they are you guys having conversation. I already said that, and I'm not doing that, can I? All right, Rabbit Homesteading says, what size is your largest average quail? I think I watched a video on it you posted, but I rarely get over 8 ounce. Should I get some better genetics? That's really, if you want bigger birds, that's the only thing you can do is get better genetics. I haven't weighed my birds in a long time. I can't remember what they were getting up to. I want to say they were like, usually like in the 10 to 12 ounce range, and I believe anything over 10 ounces is considered a jumbo bird. So yeah, if you want bigger birds, better genetics is about the only way you're going to be able to do that. Or spend a long, long time selective breeding only your biggest birds, and it's going to take a while. It's better to just go ahead and get the genetically, the jumbo birds, the bigger genetic birds. All right, Ben says, I got a 78% hatch rate on my first set of eggs. Very nice. Says, hi, everybody. It's good to be here with y'all. Fantastic. Good job on that one, Ben. Gaming Gator says, what incubator should I get for $70 to $100? Oh, I don't know if I can answer that one for you. I use a, and don't worry about it, Dawson. It's all good. It's not annoying to me. Sorry, I got a personal text there from Dawson from Hatch Poultries. He's apologizing for everybody asking questions of him and you guys talking back and forth. Says it's not annoying to me at all. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry I called you out in the chat here. Like everybody knows now what we were talking about, but that's okay. All right. Where was I at? $70 to $100 incubator. I use a little giant incubator, but I think they're a little bit more than that. I think they're about $150, somewhere right around in there. If you can save up for one of those, I would go with either a little giant or a Incubator in that line. Those are going to be pretty good. I'm not real familiar with incubators that are in the $70 to $100 range, so I'm not sure I can answer that one for you. I'm sorry. William says, Danny, you don't want to eat the medicated. You'll end up eating the medication. Yeah, but there's no harm in eating that stuff. It's like I said, it's not really a medication. It's like a thiamine blocker. Anyway, look it up. You'll see there's no risk. And now I'm kind of with you, William. I don't really want to feed my birds that, and I don't really want to eat that kind of stuff. But really, in all honesty, you're fine. It's not going to hurt you. You can do it. All right. Brad says, what is a good thermometer for an incubator? So if you're talking about like the thermostat that controls the incubator, you're going to have to look. There's a couple of them. I use the one that came with mine, so that works just fine. You can get, specific thermostats for incubators. You can buy just the thermostat. If you're talking about like an incubator to use to calibrate a thermometer you can use to calibrate your incubator. The brand doesn't really matter that much. Just make sure it's one that you can calibrate. Make sure it goes down below 100 degrees. A lot of them don't. You need them to go down all the way down to 0 or 32 degrees anyway, so you can calibrate it. Make sure it's accurate. Medical thermometers are fantastic, highly accurate thermometers. They're not that expensive, so you can use those as well. But the brand's not really that important. Just again, don't go with digital, go with non-digital, and make sure it's one that reads low enough that you can calibrate it. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I got that one answered for you. All right. Where are we at here? Coon Catcher, when can I check my Adobe and Prey? I already answered that one. Rabbit Homesteading says, thumbs up, well worth the knowledge. Well, thank you. Where are we at here? Did I get, what was that? A $20 super chat from Hatch Poultry says, you're amazing. Thank you, Hatch. I appreciate that. So very kind of you. And where are we at here? Tata says, hello, Chris. First time catching a live chat. Always get great information on your channel. I plan on getting quail this summer. Awesome. Good luck with your new quail. And then GL Bell says, hello from Oklahoma. So right across the state line there. I don't know what part of Oklahoma you're in, but we may very well be neighbors. It's, a 10-minute drive to Oklahoma from here. All right, Kathy says, I just got some bantam chicks. I put some pics on your group page for Facebook. Chicks are just so cute and small. With a complete chick starter, do they still need grit? No, if you're feeding them chick starter, they don't need grit. Grit is really if they're going to be like free ranging, eating bugs and those kinds of things, then they'll need grit to help grind that up. But chick starter's already ground up basically, so you don't need to worry about providing them with grit. And I'm sorry guys, I haven't been on the Facebook group a whole lot lately. I need to get on there, start responding to things. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at social media. I just can't stay focused on it for very long. All right. TD Allen says, I made my own incubator out of an old dishwasher. Interesting. I put a heating element in the bottom and it keeps the temperature at 99 to 100 degrees, keeps humidity at 50 to 65%. Awesome. Aaron says, cool. I have an incubator ready to hatch next week. Awesome. Good luck with your hatch. Hope it goes well. Junior Bailey says, you do not need to, he says to Gaming Gator, you do not need to keep asking the same question. His comment feed is slower than when we type our questions here. Yep, that's true. And let's see, Vernon has a good comment. Not sure if you can find a good one at that price range. Perhaps a used one. That's a good thought too. Watch Craigslist. Sometimes people will sell used incubators on there. And if you get like a little giant one and for some reason it's not working right or whatever, their customer service is fantastic. It's Miller Manufacturing who makes them. I've told this story before, but I had a thermostat and sent me a brand new thermostat. Find one. All right, Boris says, let's thumb up the best educational live broadcast for quail and rabbits. Thank you very much for that, Boris. Hey, look at that. Junior Bailey says to Gaming Gator that Tractor Supply had a little giant for 119. There you go. I chose the Hoverbaiter because the LG's temp controller has been reported to be less than accurate. Yeah, I've had very few problems with mine. It's actually worked pretty well. And I keep thinking when it goes out, I'm going to buy a Hoverbaiter, but it hasn't gone out. It still works, so I haven't had to. There's the comment we were looking for earlier on turkey eggs. I knew somebody would know it. 28 days. Thanks, Raymond. I appreciate that. It takes turkey eggs 28 days to hatch. All right, Gingerbread 600 says, Chris, I just picked up some baby quail today because of you. Don't blame me for that. That's not my fault. It says, Jumbo Pharaohs and Italian Goldens. Awesome. Congratulations on your new birds. Tony says, Tony Colella with Western Piedmont Real Estate. Wow, that's a name. But anyway, says, just wanted to thank you for all the great advice, help, and suggestions. You have cut down the learning curve for so many of us. Spot on each time. Thank you for your time and for sharing. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate that. And hopefully the real estate business is going well for you. I know that's got to be a crazy business right now. Interesting, one of my side businesses I'm trying to start up is real estate photography and videography. And I've gotten a few real estate photography jobs, but I'm having a real hard time getting real estate agents that want to do video service. You would think right now would be a great time for that. But anyway, this is not the place to talk about that. We'll get onto that in a different time. Brad Smith says, Linda Belleville, turkey take 28 days. There's another one. I knew somebody would know that. How long does it take for a peacock to hatch? Don't know. Never hatched a peacock. Don't know. Cal Troy says, I just don't know. Cal Troy says, I have 2 quail die today. I'm sorry to hear that. They're approximately 3 weeks old and found them both dead under the heat light. Do you think the heat light killed them or was something else wrong with the quail? Thank you. At 3 weeks old, they really shouldn't need the heat lights anymore. So, yeah, it could be that, but you would think they'd have enough sense to get out from underneath the heat light if they were too warm. If it was very, very chilly and all the birds were crowding under the heat light to get warm, but it'd have to be pretty cold, I would think, for that to happen. It could be that. Sometimes if your heat light, if you don't have it warm enough in there, the birds are all crowding together under the heat lamp and they'll end up suffocating and killing the birds that are kind of on the bottom of the pile. So that could be it too. It could be genetics. Some birds have, what do they call that? I forget the name of it. What's it called? The gene that it just causes sudden death. Instant mortality gene. Whatever. Some birds just have that and just die for whatever reason. You never know why. So there could be a lot of things there with that one, Cal. I wish I could tell you exactly what it is, but it's hard to say. Watch your birds. If they do tend to be crowding up under the heat light, it is a little chilly for them. You might want to move it closer, make it a little bit warmer. That very well could be the reason. All right. Brad says to the peacock eggs takes 30 days. Bubba Hauk says, hey, it's been a while. I recognize your name. I remember you. Thanks for coming back and joining. I appreciate it. Says, hey, it's been a while since I've seen your videos. I was the one that won some free eggs from the quail, and the quail are doing great. Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I remember that. You won the free eggs. Danny says, the vinegar trick totally works. I've done it many times, but only when introducing new birds to the flock. Yeah, I've heard it works really well. I can't figure out why, but I've heard it does. All right, Sage and Stone Homestead. When a rabbit has runts in her first litter, is she likely to have more runts in subsequent litters? Maybe more likely. I haven't noticed that to be a problem. I've had rabbits that had a runt in one litter and one litter only, and never really ever had it again. There always does seem to be one rabbit in every litter that's just a little bit smaller than the others, but that's not really what I call a runt. A runt's like exceptionally small compared to the rest of them. And I've had rabbits that did that, just did it once and never happened again. I had a rabbit one time that did it about every third or fourth litter. I don't know if it means that they're more likely to do it. It's going to depend on probably your specific. There was a comment on the real estate photography. Well, maybe we'll get to that here in a minute. So I saw something about drone footage. Yeah, I have a drone. I'm Part 107 certified. Occasionally, I'll do some drone footage in my my YouTube videos. But anyway, again, we'll get to that another time. J.R. Bailey says, Chris, could you quickly explain how to calibrate the analog temperature gauges? Yeah, I think I already answered that one. No, I don't think I can quickly explain it. Look it up and see what you guys can find. We got about 5 minutes here, so I'm sorry, Junior, or JR, whichever it is. I'm going to have to skip on that one. Just do a Google search for it. You'll find it. It'll be a much better explanation than I could give you. All right, Michael says, my son, 8-year-old, wants to know how old you were when you got your first quail. I was, I don't know, 40-ish, 38 to 40, somewhere right around in there. It's been like 6-7 years, something like that. I don't know. I didn't have quail before that, but I grew up raising animals my entire life. So, I mean, I've had all kinds of different animals from when I was a very, very, very young child. Just quail were something new to me about 6-7 years ago. All right, Owen says, hi, how you doing? I'm doing well, thanks. Gingerbread says, how long should I brood quail hatchlings before they go outside? It kind of depends. If you, kind of depends. It depends on the weather, really, basically. If it's like wintertime and it's getting pretty cold outside, down below, I would say 40 degrees at night, you probably want to give them till they're about 4 weeks old, somewhere right around in there. If it's summertime where it's not dropping below like 70 degrees at night, Fahrenheit, I move them out at about 2.5 to 3 weeks old, and they do just fine. So it just depends a little bit on the weather. Just watch it. Make sure they're fully feathered out, really, no matter what time of year it is, fully feathered out, and see what your nighttime lows are going to get down to. And I would say, they're fine usually at about 2 to 2.5 weeks old to move outside if the nights are not going to get below about 70 degrees. If they're going to be down in the 60s or 50s, you might give them another week, maybe 3 weeks. If they're going to get down much below that, you want to give them until they're probably about 4 weeks old. Hopefully that answers that one for you. All right. Thart Shorn says, how do goats get lungworm? You're just trying to stump me, I think, tonight, because I don't know. I don't raise goats. Ricky Kerbo says, have you ever tried to incubate quail eggs under a chicken? No, I haven't. I don't have any chickens. But I've heard of people doing that, especially with like little bantam hens, and heard that they've had some decent success with it. All right. Kathy says cats and dogs did get COVID. A zoo tiger also. Interesting. I didn't know that. Then we got a couple of comments about them getting that. So I'm skipping through some of this stuff, guys, because I'm trying to get to the best ones I can. All right. Mary says, what's the most popular breed of rabbits? Well, that kind of depends if you're talking about pet rabbits or meat rabbits. Meat rabbits, it's probably a toss-up between New Zealand's and California's. Those are probably the most popular breeds. All right, Sharon says, okay, more about COVID. Forrest Homestead said, is a 1 to 4 quail ratio good for fertile eggs? Yep, 1 rooster for every 4 hens, perfect. You can't go wrong with that. All right, where are we at here? If I missed your comment, I'm sorry. I'm rushing a little bit to get through this stuff so I can get to as many as I can. Forrest Homestead says, I have 2-day-old, 4-day-old, week-old chicks all in one brooder. Is that okay? They seem okay. Well, if they're doing okay, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. 2-day-old and 4-day-old and week-old chicks. The only thing you're going to have to worry about is make sure it's warm enough to, again, where they're not piling up under the heat lamp and they don't trample your little 2-day-old chicks. But that'd be the only thing I'd worry about. If it's working out fine so far, it seems like you answered the question. It's working out fine. All right, Jim Boy says, good eggs, incubator, prep right, time, or temp right, humidity right, lockdown right, but most eggs stopped developing. Any ideas? Oh man, that's a tough one. Are you sure the temperature's right? Did you check it with some calibrated thermometers? That's the first place I always go. And if it's not that, then, it sounds like, who knows? I mean, that's the first place I always go. There may be, your incubator may be reading off just a little bit. Get a couple of calibrated thermometers, check it. Always get two, so you know which, if those two incubator or two thermometers are reading right, you know they're accurate. If you just get one, you don't know, is the thermometer accurate or is the thermostat on the incubator accurate? All right. Renee Perry says, when providing additional hours of light for egg production, is there any light that is best? Will Christmas lights work? Yeah, Christmas lights will work. It doesn't really matter. You can use pretty much any kind of light you want to. They don't need super bright light. They just need to extend the daylight, extend the dusk a little bit. You will find, even when you're providing light to them, that in usually like December, the month of December, egg production really drops off. Even when I am providing light, it's just not enough. They really usually stop. Those are the shortest days of the year. But the rest of the year, it does a pretty good job keeping them laying. All right. All right. Let me scroll down because I got somebody that said they were happy to provide me. I wanted to get to his comment. Where was it? I'm lost on this. There it is. So Tony again said, Chris, happy to give you some suggestions on launching your real estate photography. The Vogue thing now is drone footage, and with the COVID-19 issues, virtual tours. I have no idea when you have. Oh, I have ideas when you have time. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I'm working on. I've just not been able to get any real estate agents to get back to me on that. So who knows? We'll get them going eventually. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. All right, guys. I think we're about done here. Yep, we're a little over time. I gotta go spend some time with the family, have some dinner, go to bed so I can get up at 4:30 in the morning and start work again one more day this week. So, all right. Thanks, guys, for joining me. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we got to your comment. I wish I could. I wish I could answer all of them, but I just can't spend all night here. Thank you for all the super chats tonight. Just for being here, for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. If I didn't get to your question, and it's an important one, leave it on a comment after the video post as a comment on the video, not in the chat itself. And hopefully I'll get to it in the next day or two. I'll try to get those done. It's turkey season, so I'm trying to get my last day of turkey hunting in. So far, I've hunted. I got to find a better place to hunt. The place I hunt does not have great turkey populations. We've hunted for 4 days and haven't heard a single turkey yet. I'm trying to film it for you guys so I can post a hunting video for you. But so far, it's pretty boring. It's just me sitting in the woods calling turkey every once in a while and nothing happening there. So, all right, guys, I got to wrap this up. So, hopefully we'll see you guys all again next week. God bless each and every one of you, and good night. See you again.